You ever wake up one morning and realize your whole world's changed because some bureaucrat in a suit decided to swing a chainsaw through your dreams? I'll never forget that sunrise I'd planned for the light to spill through 47 young fruit trees I'd planted for my grandmother Marie Chen, who believed every new beginning ought to start with a little kindness and a whole lot of green. Instead, what I got was the snarl of chainsaws, the bitter bite of diesel in the air, and the HOA manager's smirk as he watched every tree fall like it was some personal victory. No warning, no paperwork, just four men in orange vests grinding through the orchard I'd built with my own hands, every tree carrying a tag for Grandma Marie, who wanted to see a community orchard, feeding families long after she was gone. "What the hell are you doing?" I remember yelling, stumbling out in my pajamas, anger boiling over. The guy in charge, Derek Mills, comes at me with a clipboard and the air of a man who's never planted a damn thing in his life, just enforces rules and calls it work. "You must be Mr. Chen. These trees violate landscape standards," he says. Like that explains the destruction. I tried to tell all of them this land wasn't even inside the HOA's reach. I checked, double-checked, picked it for that reason. I show Derek the survey on my phone. He rolls his eyes and calls his boss Victoria Blackwood, the HOA president. 10 minutes later, a black Mercedes rolls up in a cloud of dust, and out steps Victoria Silverhair in a bun suit, more expensive than my old truck. She doesn't walk so much as command the ground beneath her, and her first words drip with practiced concern. "I understand you're upset, Mr. Chen." Upset is putting it mildly. I tell her you're destroying my property and this isn't even your jurisdiction. But she just hands me a folder, points to a clause buried deep in the paperwork, something called 47B, a line about landscape standards that reads vague enough to mean anything and specific enough to be dangerous. That's when I see it, the way her smile flickers. Just a hint, like she knows she's got me caught in a net I never saw coming. "Paperwork gets updated," she says. "Legal processes are complex. My trees are nothing but mulch by then, wood chippers humming as they reduce my hopes to sawdust." I felt rage, but also something colder helplessness I hadn't tasted since I was a kid. Victoria hands me her card. "When you're ready to discuss proper landscaping, give us a call." They drive off, leaving me surrounded by stumps and the memory of Grandma's words, "Never repay anyone with hatred. Let kindness become the seed of every new tree." But that night, kindness felt about as useful as an umbrella in a hurricane. Then I went digging through the purchase file, found clause 47B had been slipped in just weeks before Grandma Marie passed. And suddenly, nothing made sense. I lost sleep, combed through contracts, line by line. Turns out 47B wasn't standard anywhere, but showed up in a dozen other deals targeting folks like me, people who just inherited, didn't know the game. That's when I called Betty Rodriguez, town notary, Grandma's friend for 30 years, keeper of all local secrets. She knew something, you could hear it in her voice. "Your grandmother made me promise, Marcus. She knew Victoria was planning something." Betty pulls out the original documents, points out that this clause, this power grab, came straight from Victoria, sold as a new county requirement. And then Betty hands me a letter in Grandma's handwriting, lavender perfume still clinging to the paper. "My dear Marcus," it starts. "If you're reading this, then Victoria has made her move. The woman is standing on our land and doesn't even know it." My heart stops. Turns out the land where the HOA office sits used to be Grandma's family's leased for 99 years to the county, with a clause that said if the land was ever harmed, the lease would terminate. Guess what cutting down my trees triggered that clause? The lease had expired, and the HOA had been squatting on my family's land for months. Armed with this, I called my old roommate James Wu, now a property dispute attorney. He laughs, says it sounds like a legal thriller until he reads the documents. Then he's all business, showing up at my ranch with casebooks and a grin. "Ignorance isn't a defense, Marcus. They gave us proof of environmental damage. They've been trespassing. We can evict them and maybe more. So we drafted a formal complaint, included everything: lease documents, legal precedents, photos of stumps. Betty signed a statement and I filed the report Monday morning. Victoria tried to bribe Betty 30 grand to claim the lease was a forgery. Betty just laughed and called me. But Victoria's panic started to show. Board members started asking for copies. 18 out of 20 signed a petition for her to step down. Derek disappeared. The whole machine was shaking. Victoria tried to fight back, ran a smear campaign in the local paper, painted me as some outsider trying to destabilize the community, faked anonymous quotes, filled Facebook with garbage about community values. But her heavy hand turned the tide. People I didn't know started sending letters, families she'd targeted with fines, threats, forced to tear down playsets, rip out solar panels. One letter from a county worker included evidence that Victoria had been siphoning HOA funds, over $20 million, into her own accounts, buying crypto and out-of-state properties. James and I brought it to the district attorney, state AG, FBI. Within a week, federal agents raided Victoria's house in the HOA office. Derek shows up on my porch, pale and desperate, offers emails and recordings of Victoria's scams. He wants a deal, wants to save his own skin, and you know what? I get it. Fear changes people. But it doesn't excuse what he did. Eviction day arrives, pouring rain fitting really, and I watch Victoria, attorney in tow, loading office furniture into a U-Haul on my land. I set up a canvas tent for them where my trees once stood, hand-painted sign and all. The humiliation is complete. Then Tom Anderson, Grandma's old friend, brings me blueprints. Turns out the microgrid solar system Grandma built powers the whole area, including the HOA office and Victoria's house. I have the kill switch legally, so I set their hours. Power from 9 to 5 weekdays. No AC. No special treatment. Victoria's world shrinks down to what I allow. She tries to fight calls and electricians, but every permit requires my signature. The rules she once used against us are now my tools. Victoria finally cracks. She tries to run, but her assets are frozen and she's caught at the airport with 2 suitcases of cash and a fake passport. The board dissolves the HOA. The neighborhood is free. But I can't help wondering, did I go too far? Did I become what I hated? Grandma Marie's voice says, let kindness be the seed. So I do something different. On the site of that tent, I build the Marie Chen Community Garden and Renewable Energy Center. It's for everyone: free garden plots, solar charging stations, workshops, fresh food. Oregon State Partners upturns the place into a model for community-based sustainability. The neighbors, once afraid, show up with seed stories and laughter. Even Derek sticks around, working off his charges by helping kids plant tomatoes. 6 months later, we're in a documentary about grassroots change. People from all over the country write, asking how to build their own gardens, how to stand up to their own Victorias. Standing in that sunlit field, I realized those 47 cut trees became the rootstock for something 100 times greater. Victoria tried to control with fear, but kindness and stubborn hope built something that lasted. So tell me, have you ever faced down someone who abused their authority? Did you get your justice, or did you build something new from the wreckage? Drop your story in the comments. And if you want to see more stories where justice and community win, go ahead and share this with a friend who needs to hear it. Because at the end of the day, power's not about who controls the light switch. It's about who plants the next tree.